To learn about the off-grid lifestyle and to be inspired to live your dreams, click subscribe so you don't miss anything. Hit the bell notification. Must have had an earthquake last night. I don't know. I don't know what it causes the firewood to fall over just spontaneously all by itself, but at least this time it's not too terribly bad. It's just a little section. Normally it's the whole thing. Being forced to leave the off-grid property today. Well, I'll explain. And later, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the firewood. So as you know, I have an 1.5 acres of property. And I would say most of it is covered in trees. Even in what I would consider the living area of the property, there are trees that I'm going to get rid of. These 3 trees here, I'm pretty sure are infected with oak wilt. I've talked about that before. And oak wilt is killing all the trees around here. There's 3 trees up there that I got to get on my neighbor's property. They're dead and limbs are falling off of it. He said I could have those. I just haven't had a chance to get it because I was building a tiny house. So, you know, there's 6 trees there. Now these 6 trees will probably last me, believe it or not, years. Because one 14-inch tree, and those are much, I would say those are probably 20-inch trees. One 14-inch tree, and they're so many feet high, I think 30 feet high or 20 feet high, will provide you with 1/3 of a cord of wood, firewood. Well, since these are bigger, probably get, I would say just one of the trees would be close to a cord of wood. There's a lot of firewood just right there. And so what I'm trying to do is find the dead trees so I don't have to kill the living trees. Now, a lot of people think that dead trees automatically mean that the firewood is cured. You know, you have green firewood or wet firewood, and then you have cured firewood. But that's not necessarily true. It takes years for a dead tree to cure. And 9 times out of 10, if it falls over, it may never cure. It actually starts soaking up the water from the ground. So it's got to be off the ground if it's going to cure. I actually found a red oak down there, and it had fallen on top of cedar trees, so it was off the ground. I don't know how many years it was down, but that was really dry wood. It was like 11%. It burned really well. Now what I have here, I think I have 6 or 7 cords here. I haven't measured in a while and I forgot. A lot of this is from a tree down at the city park down the road from us. I've talked about that tree a lot. It's starting to cure. You can see the color variations. The darker the color here, the more cured it is. But then this stuff up here on the top, and definitely over here, you'll see that it's a much lighter color. That was just cut like in January. Then we have like the walnut, that was oak down there. We have walnut here, and that's curing very nicely. Different types of wood cures faster or slower. The more dense the wood, like oak and hickory, takes longer, whereas walnut, it only took about 8 months for this to cure, and it's really doing well. It's actually changing colors. Walnut's so pretty. And this came from a dead tree back in the back. And I know a lot of people tell me that I need to sell the walnut because I can make a lot of money off of it. But by the time I got the equipment to pull the tree out and get a trailer to put the tree on, it was going to cost me more than I would have made by selling it. So I'm just going to burn it. It's a pretty wood, don't get me wrong. Here's an example. You can see that this walnut here is much darker than that walnut over there. So you can see that it's drying. Another way to tell if it's drying is the bark will start to flake off pretty easily. And then of course you'll see the cracks. Cracking means that it's drying. And then finally, if you pick it up and you hit it with another stick and it sounds hollow, if you ever pick up a 2x4 and you hit it, you hear the hollow sound, but then you pick up a fresh limb and you hit it, it sounds very dull. Dunk, dunk, dunk. That means that it's dry if it sounds hollow. Now, another way to tell if it's dry is with a moisture tester. And what it's supposed to be is your firewood on these newer wood stoves has to be less than 20%. Now, I've said this a lot of times, but so many people, it just amazes me how many people will argue. As a matter of fact, one person told me, I've been burning firewood my entire life, and I hope I can inspire you to learn how to burn green wood. You know, he was saying that, you know, he can cut a tree down and burn it immediately. Well, this wood was not dry when we moved into this house. And so I had to burn it. It was green. 27% was about the best I could get. Towards the end of the season, I found a little section over here that was at 20%. This is not like it was when I was a kid. You know, throw a few logs in the fire and you go back to bed. Burning wet wood now in these wood stoves is just near impossible. And the other thing I've noticed is it burns a lot more. You have to burn probably twice the firewood you do than when it's dry. Believe it or not. I mean, that sounds odd. What happens is in the log, the water is actually cooling down the fire, if that makes sense. You put water on a fire to put it out. Well, that's what's happening is you're putting the wood out. And so in order to keep that fire going, you got to put more wood in and more wood in. The other thing is the outside of the firewood is drier than the center. And so as you get into the core of the firewood, it starts to go out, so you're throwing another log in so your fire doesn't go out. But when you get into the dry firewood, you can throw a log in, and it does, it burns quicker. But then it holds the ambers longer. The other thing that you have to worry about with these new wood stoves is they have catalytic converters or reburners or whatever you want to call them. That reburner actually burns smoke. When you put in a dry log, initially all that heat that was from the last log is burning the smoke until the new log catches on fire. Then when it catches on fire, the smoke burns automatically. Well, that smoke is causing creosote in your chimney. Now, creosote is very flammable. I mean, extremely flammable. Well, water actually makes creosote more sticky. So when you put in a wet log, it's burning that smoke and that water, and it goes out there and sticks. I mean, it's very dangerous to burn wet wood. So when we started burning dry wood, what I noticed was I started using less. And the reason is because I can let the fire die down quite low. Now, the stove itself retains heat. It's got all these bricks in it, and it'll retain heat for 4 hours. And then you throw in a new log, it catches on fire, you let it burn down. Now, with our little tiny house, we only need one log at a time. So when I was burning the drier wood, I slowed down how much wood we were burning versus when we were burning the wet wood. And the way you use this moisture tester, it's not hard. It's got a little cap on it, and you just turn it on. Now, the thing is different woods give you different measurements. So you have to read the instructions, and they give you all the different trees there are in the world, and you select which setting it needs to be on. So like with oak, it goes on A, and walnut is like C. And so then you split a piece of wood. I'm not going to split a piece, but you split a piece of wood, and then you get into the center of the wood. Put the prongs into it, and you can see that the outside, I didn't split it, so the outside of this is 21%. So that's actually wetter than it's supposed to be. So now, as I've said several times, that I've tried to get as much firewood off-site as possible. Like I said, I only have 1.5 acres, so it's not like I can just go in there and bulldoze our property and get a bunch of firewood. So today, there's this lady about 32 miles away from us who's got a hickory tree that she had cut down in her backyard. She didn't cut it up. So today we're gonna go over to her property and we're gonna cut that tree up and put it in the truck and bring it back. Hopefully we can get it in one load. So we're gonna head over there now and see what we got. All right, I don't want to give away anybody's location, but we've made it to the folks' home. This is the tree here, and it's not very big. This is exactly what I was hoping for, a little truckload. And they said that we could put the brush down here, and so the truck is literally right here. So that, not far to walk. This is going to be pretty easy. Okay, so not a bad little truckload of hickory. Now this is more dense than oak, so this puts out more BTUs than oak. And it's really wet, so it's going to take a couple years to dry probably. It's okay, because you saw that first row, and then we got center row, and then we'll start a new row. That'll be our 2-year pile. Yeah, this is pretty easy. Again, I don't want to show you their place too much, but it was all downhill. I mean, straight downhill. It was hard cutting on the hill, but bringing the logs down, we could just roll them down. They told us to leave the brush here, and they'll burn it. And they burned things here before, so I didn't feel too guilty about it. So we'll get this home, get it unloaded, and over the next few days I'll get it split. It splits pretty easy with the maul. A couple whacks and it goes right in two. So we're gonna head back to the house. So we made it home safely, had some lunch. It's, I think, 11:30 or 12 o'clock. So we left here at, 7:30, and we're back by 11:30, including lunch. You know, we've gotten that taken care of. So, you know, not a bad deal to spend, you know, just a few minutes, or a couple hours. Now, this is hickory. I've talked about hickory, I think. It's a higher BTU. It's actually, I think, the highest BTU firewood there is. British thermal units. Now, if you try to buy hickory, actually, there's a guy down the road. He sells oak and hickory. He is really picky about his hickory. He charges quite a bit more for hickory than he does oak. So I find it interesting that I spent a couple hours and I probably got $200. To me, this is a real profitable asset, commodity, something to have. I hope I can inspire you to learn something new and to dispel the old so you can live your dream. Thanks for watching.